The Celestial Scribe. Amira traced her fingers over the ancient talisman, feeling the grooves of its intricate Arabic calligraphy beneath her skin. The small brass disc had been passed down through generations of her family, but only now, on her 16th birthday, was she deemed ready to become its keeper. "Remember, Habibi," her grandmother whispered, pressing the cool metal into Amira's palm. "With great power comes great responsibility. Use it wisely." Amira had yet to understand. It was just a family heirloom, wasn't it? But as she gazed at the talisman, something stirred deep within her. The figure etched at its center, a human form covered in mystical script, seemed to pulse with otherworldly energy. Shaking her head, Amira slipped the talisman around her neck. She had homework to finish before bed. But as she bent over her desk, the words on the page began to blur and shift. Amira blinked hard, thinking she must be more tired than she realized. When she opened her eyes again, she gasped. Her bedroom walls dissolved, revealing an endless expanse of deep blue, adorned with twinkling stars and swirling nebulae. Amira found herself suspended in this cosmic sea, a feeling of weightlessness enveloping her. The sight was beyond anything she had ever imagined. "Do not be afraid, young scribe," a melodious voice echoed around her. "You have been chosen." A figure materialized before her, the exact figure from the talisman, but now life-sized and radiant. Its body was composed entirely of shimmering golden script that flowed and shifted constantly. What are you?" Amira managed to stammer. The figure's script-covered face curved into a gentle smile. "I am Al-Kalam, the Celestial Scribe. And you, Amira, are my newest apprentice." Amira's mind reeled. This had to be a dream. Yet she could feel the excellent brush of stardust against her skin, and smell the crisp ozone of deep space. "I don't understand," she said. "I'm just a normal girl. I'm not special." Kalam's laughter rang like wind chimes. "Oh, but you are, dear one. The talisman chose you, as it has chosen others throughout the ages. You possess the gift, the ability to shape reality through the power of the written word." As if to demonstrate, Al-Kalam waved a hand. Streams of glowing script flowed from its fingertips, merging into the form of a shimmering butterfly. With another gesture, the butterfly burst into a shower of starlight. Amira's eyes widened in wonder. "And you're going to teach me to do that?" "In time," Al-Kalam nodded. "But first you must learn the fundamentals. The universe is built on language, Amira. Every atom, every force of nature, can be described by the right combination of words. Master that language, and reality itself becomes your canvas." Over the next several nights, whenever she grasped the talisman, Amira was transported to this celestial realm. Al-Kalam proved to be a patient but demanding teacher. Amira learned to craft simple words of power, watching in awe as lines of script flowed from her fingertips to manifest her thoughts. But it wasn't all wondrous. Al-Kalam warned her of the dangers of misusing her gift. "Words have consequences," the Celestial Scribe cautioned. "What you write becomes the truth. You must always consider the ripple effects of your creations." Amira took the warning to heart, but she couldn't help testing the limits of her newfound abilities. One day at school, irritated by the constant teasing of a bully named Jake, she scribbled a quick phrase in her notebook: "Jake trips and falls." Moments later, to her shock, she heard a crash in the hallway. Jake had stumbled over his feet, spilling his backpack's contents everywhere. As her classmates laughed, Amira felt a pang of guilt. She hadn't meant to hurt him. That night, Al-Kalam's usually serene face was stern. "You must be more careful, Amira. The gift is not a toy nor a weapon for petty revenge." "I'm sorry," Amira said, hanging her head. I didn't think it would work in the real world. Al-Kalam's expression softened. The barriers between worlds are thinner than you imagine. Your power is not confined to our lessons here. That is why you must learn control. As the weeks passed, Amira's skills grew. She learned to weave complex tapestries of written magic, bending light and shadow to her will. But she also learned restraint, understanding that the most potent spells were often the subtlest. One night, Al-Kalam presented her with a challenge. Create something that embodies hope, the Celestial Scribe instructed. Amira closed her eyes, concentrating. Golden script flowed from her hands, swirling and taking shape. When she opened her eyes, a small tree sapling stood before her, its leaves shimmering with an inner light. Excellent, Al-Kalam beamed. You're beginning to understand. True mastery lies not in grand gestures, but in nurturing the seeds of possibility. As Amira's powers grew, so did her awareness of the world. She began to see the hidden script that undergirded reality, in the dance of leaves on the wind, in the laughter of children, and in the quiet moments between heartbeats. The universe was an ever-evolving story. She was learning to read its most secret pages. With her growing powers came a heightened awareness of the world's problems: poverty, injustice, environmental destruction. The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders, and she yearned to use her gift to fix everything at once. Patience, young one, Al-Kalam counseled. The world was not written in a day. Lasting change requires careful crafting. Amira nodded, but couldn't shake her restlessness. There had to be a way to make a more significant difference. One morning, Amira was jolted awake by the wail of sirens. A raging wildfire was advancing towards her town, fueled by months of drought. As smoke darkened the sky, panic gripped the streets. Amira felt a surge of determination. This was her chance to make a real difference. Grasping her talisman, Amira closed her eyes and concentrated harder than she had ever done before. In her mind's eye, she saw the fire as a story that needed rewriting. A golden script flowed from her in a torrent, reshaping the narrative of wind and flame. Slowly, impossibly, storm clouds began to gather. Rain fell in sheets, dousing the inferno. As the last embers sizzled out, the townsfolk emerged from their homes in wonder at the sudden change in weather. Amira sagged with exhaustion, but felt a surge of pride. She had done it. She had saved her town. But when she visited the celestial realm that night, Al-Kalam's face was grave. You've disrupted the balance, Amira. Your actions, while well-intentioned, will have unforeseen consequences. But I stopped the fire. Amira protested. I save people's homes, maybe even lives. Yes, Al-Kalam nodded. But nature is a delicate system. The fire, while destructive, played a role in the forest's life cycle. Some species depended on it. And the rain you summoned. That water was drawn from other regions, worsening their droughts. Amira's heart sank as she realized the truth of Al-Kalam's words. In her haste to help, she had potentially caused harm elsewhere. What do I do? She asked in a small voice. You learn, Al-Kalam said gently. You understand that wielding great power requires great wisdom. The gift is not about imposing your will on the world, but about harmonizing with the greater story of existence. Over the following days, Amira worked tirelessly with Al-Kalam to mitigate the effects of her actions. They crafted subtle spells to encourage new growth in the forest and redirect weather patterns back towards equilibrium. It was painstaking, exhausting work, far less glamorous than summoning a storm but ultimately more meaningful. As weeks turned to months, Amira's approach to her gift evolved. Rather than grand gestures, she focused on small, thoughtful acts of editing, nudging events in positive directions without overwriting the existing narrative. A kind word, whispered into the ear of someone who needed encouragement, a moment of inspiration granted to a scientist working on renewable energy. Tiny seeds of change, planted with care and allowed to grow naturally. One night, as shooting stars streaked across the celestial realm, Al-Kalam turned to Amira with pride shining on its script-covered face. "You've come so far, young scribe. You're ready for the final lesson." "There's more to learn?" Amira asked, surprised. Al-Kalam nodded. "The most important lesson of all. You see, Amira, the true power of the gift lies not in changing the world but in changing yourself." With a wave of its hand, Al-Kalam conjured a mirror of pure starlight. Amira gasped as she saw her reflection. Her body was covered in the same flowing golden script as Al-Kalam's. "You've had this power within you all along," Al-Kalam explained. "The talisman was merely a key to unlock it. Now you must decide how to use it." Amira stared at her shimmering form, her mind racing with possibilities. She could make herself smarter, more talented, even immortal. But as she caught Kalam's eye, she understood. True wisdom lay not in perfecting herself, but in accepting her imperfections and striving to grow through them. Taking a deep breath, Amira raised her hands. Golden script flowed from her fingertips, but instead of changing her reflection, it swirled out into the cosmos. Everywhere the words touched, small miracles blossomed, acts of kindness, moments of beauty, sparks of inspiration. Amira was writing herself into the universe's story, not as its author, but as a humble participant in its unfolding wonder. As the last of the script faded, Amira turned to her mentor with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." Al-Kalam enveloped her in a warm embrace. "You've surpassed all my hopes, Amira. The gift is yours now to use as you see fit. Remember always, the greatest magic lies not in the words themselves, but in the heart of the one who writes them." With a final dazzling smile, Al-Kalam's form dissolved into a starlight shower. Amira found herself back in her bedroom, the talisman cool against her skin. But now, she understood its true meaning. She was a celestial scribe, tasked with adding verses to the grand poem of existence. Sitting at her desk, Amira picked up her pen. The blank page before her was no longer intimidating, but full of infinite possibilities. With a smile, she began to write, knowing that each word held the power to change the world, starting with herself.